Alright, hello and welcome. I've got a Wave 23 start here for Glitterhelm Massacre Survival Hardcore. Full stat breakdown at the end, but I did pull my stats back to about 7k main stats and then an even split on power and range for my traps and auras. We've got a Copter Ogre lane here, so I'm going to drop an Ensnare Aura to help CC those as they come in. Gonna have an Ensnare, Electric, and Strength Drain going down here on the right side of the stairs, as well as an Inferno and Gas Trap. The placement here is going to add a ton of damage and crowd control to the lane, as well as handle the flyers coming in that are going to go after the crystal on the other side, and a darkness trap going down here as well, a wall between them, and a buff beam to tie it all together. I switched to my Beamer EV here for the buff beam, but you can drop it on your Waller. 3 upgrades on the beam, 2 on everything else aside from the ensnaring gas. So that 3DU EV wall, as well as those traps and auras, that's going to be the setup for every lane. We've got another Copter Ogre lane that has flyers as well. We're going to lock this lane down and forget about it with an ensnare and a gas trap. For this lane on the south here, I like the 3DU EV wall to start on this pot. It's a nice reference point to start it at the same spot every time for consistent runs, and then an Ensnare, Electric, and Strength Drain on that first plank on the right of the bridge, just in front of the wall. And the Inferno is going down here. I'm looking at the range of my auras, and I'm keeping the Inferno inside of the aura range, as well as here we go with the gas and the darkness trap. Buff beam down again, same upgrade priority, 3 on the beam and 2 on everything else that does damage. 2 on the Strength Drain as well to keep it healthy, and the Strength Drain is also 1 tick smaller to keep it healthy longer as well. That lane also has a flyer lane coming in on the side. That's going to get covered by the traps and auras as well. Here is the east lane. Now we're going to go around the corner on the rock here, drop an Inferno and gas, and then just behind that yellow rock, I like the darkness trap. Going to swap over to my Aura Monk here and drop behind the gas, Ensnare, Electric, and Strength Drain, 1 tick smaller again on that Strength Drain, and then we're going to swap over to our EV Waller. Up on this rock here is a nice easy reference point for the 3DU EV wall and a buff beam tying everything together. The wall placement on the north and east lanes ensures that they won't get charged by Sharkin, because Sharkin need vision of a wall far enough away to wind up their charge. Not having vision until they're around the corner ensures that the Sharkin are too close, and instead they melee attack them. It's easier that way. You don't have to worry about those walls getting charged. I've got an Aura stack and a Darkness Gas Inferno going down right in front of the crystal, dead center here in this middle lane, as well as a couple of 3DU EV walls. I'm using the cracks on the ground as my reference points here. These specific intersections on the tiles here, I like those for the 3DU EV walls. Those gaps too small for anything to actually squeeze through. This build utilizes a stack of 4 DSTs and a Boost Monk with a Striking Gemstone to cover the entire map. These first 2 DSTs are going to go down to the left of this little square here, and the right side aim arrow, I'm going to line that up with the little blue pile of stuff in the corner there. These 2 DSTs are going to cover the Nightmare enemies on the north and east lanes, as well as the Copter lane in the north. For the next 2 DSTs, I'm going to line the aim on the right side up with that lava fall on the left, and these 2 are going to cover the south Copter lane, as well as Shark and Jin and everything else coming in on the south lane. Next up, a 4DU buff beam going down here between the DSTs. That's going to buff the auras and traps as well, and I'm going to max that out right away. We've got 1 DU remaining, which is perfect to put down a reflect wall in front of the DSTs to protect them from spiders. With the remaining build mana, I drop a couple levels each on the DSTs, as well as the Strength Drain, Inferno, and Electric Aura. I'm going to cut over to a Wave 1 start here in just a sec. If you're not interested, feel free to skip to 6 minutes and 13 seconds into the video. For Wave 1, starting on the north lane here, I've got the Aura stack going down, as well as the gas trap and 3DU EV wall, and that's the basic layout for Wave 1 on each of the outer lanes. Plenty of mana to start this off here. So from what I understand, this build is somewhat based off of the Ix build on the planner. Someone from my Discord showed it to me, and I made a bunch of changes, so I'm not really sure who to credit for this build. We've got the Copter lane CC going down here as well. Plenty of mana to spread around here for Wave 1. And yeah, the same setup going down here for the rest of the outer lanes. This is going to be plenty of damage to take care of all the minor enemies, and then I generally just take care of the major ones myself, swapping over to my Boost Monk with the DPS pet. Here in the middle, we've got the Aura stack going down, as well as the gas and darkness, and then some mana left over, so why not drop the walls as well. Wave 1 is kind of a pushover compared to the later waves, but I do G up over here. That way this spider that drops down in the middle will trigger my traps before my pet kills it, and once the traps are triggered, it's safe to come back in and start looking for things to take care of. You know, the copters, the shark, and the djinn, that sort of stuff. Just run around, keep an eye on the map, and make sure the major enemies are taken care of, because your lanes are a bit weak right now, only having electric damage. No DSTs to take out those flyers in that south flyer lane yet, but everything is pretty easy to take care of for Wave 1. After collecting the mana for Wave 2, you should have plenty to drop down the Inferno, Darkness, and Buff Beams in each of these outer lanes to finish off the builds there. These Darkness traps are pretty nice. What they do is they allow you to not worry about Poison Sirens. So anything that's poison immune from a Poison Siren is going to hit the wall and then get CC'd by the Darkness trap. They'll get blinded, they'll just kind of stand there and not go nuts attacking your wall. Next up, the Inferno going down in the middle lane and the first two DSTs. That way you can pretty much play the waves as you would on your boost monk with the Striking Gemstone, the buff beam going down as well. And since we've got the mana, why not that Reflect Wall? You don't have to do this, but at the beginning of each wave, I like to just overdrive on my Apprentice and then swap over to my Boost Monk and G up and drop my Tower Boost. That way, everything's overdrived in the very beginning. If the Inferno gets triggered, it'll do a lot more damage, and the DSTs will shred everything up right at the beginning. For Wave 3, nice and easy, just finish the build out with the remaining two DSTs. Top of the upgrade priority, as usual, is going to be the buff beams and strength drains, as well as the electric ores and infernos, but from here you're good to go. Back at Wave 23 here, going to stand on my Inferno, overdrive on my Apprentice, swap to the Boost Monk, G up, and then drop a Tower Boost. I'm going to boost the Inferno here to give it the best chance of getting triggered while it's boosted from my Apprentice buff as well. There is a random Ogre spawn here. I got him in the middle. That's perfect. I'd rather see him in the middle. That way I know he's dealt with. The Poison Siren mid here does not really matter. I've got a Darkness Trap to help me out with that as well. And here we've got the Ogre Copters coming in a little too close, and I don't like that. So what you can do to have your DSTs prioritize those Copter Ogres is hop off of them, and I hang it on the Crystal. That way their range is reduced, and now the biggest priority in their range is these Copter Ogres, so they'll take care of them for you. I'm using a campaign Drake Tooth here. If you had one from Survival, you could just kill them yourself pretty quick, but I only have to do that once. The rest of the Copters that come in do get prioritized because the Nightmare enemies around the edges of the map are all dead at this point, and the Copter Ogres do become the priority for those two DSTs, as well as the Copter Ogre lane south. That one's got a gas trap though, never have to worry about that one. So having to leave the DST stack to reprioritize your DSTs for those Copters is going to make it so that the build is not AFK. That wasn't my priority here. I wanted this build to be consistent and siren proof as well as fast, and that's what we have here. The middle of the map is pretty safe. If I get a physical siren mid on the first wave of sirens, I just look into that lane and see if a Sharkin is getting ready to charge and I shoot it. That's the only thing I ever have to look out for in the middle lane. Even poison sirens don't really matter. For this first round of upgrades on the outer lanes, I drop a level each into the Strength Drain, Wall, and Buff Beam to make the wall a little more tanky. Any lane that gets a Poison Siren is going to take a bit more damage than usual, but the Darkness Trap will help to keep the wall up and healthy. Any remaining mana can get put into the middle section here to upgrade the walls, DSTs, and you can pump it into whatever does damage or your strength drain, whatever you feel is necessary, whatever you think that middle section is lacking for you. And then you can G up here. I do overdrive again just to give my DST some more firepower. I don't get it on the Inferno because it's already triggered from the previous wave, but I get another lucky Ogre mid here. That's not always going to happen. Here I would normally cut to the end of the run to show the victory and the time, but I wanted to go through a couple other scenarios here. I've got a Poison Siren north. Normally you'd worry about that, but in our case, because of the Darkness Trap, anything that gets to the wall is going to get CC'd. Also, here's another example of me hopping off of the DSTs, allowing them to prioritize that Copter lane. You could drop a gas trap there and lock it down completely, but I'd rather have that DU for other things. I speed through most of the wave here just to show that the north lane does not get compromised, the wall doesn't go down, nothing bad happens. You really don't have to sweat these Poison Sirens. In 2-player co-op with this build, have the second person roam the map and take care of the Ogre spawn. Look out for Poison Siren lanes, help out with Copters on the north lane, maybe kill a Siren or two. I think a DPS EV is optimal for that. In 3-player, have someone camp the south lane and then someone else roam north and east. And then for 4-player co-op, you can cut the Darkness Traps, drop some healing ores or whatever you think is best for that extra DU. That's assuming that you have one person guarding each lane. Okay, a couple of worst case scenarios here. These are the times where you may have to leave your DST stack. Here's also what happens if you do let a Copter Ogre land. They kind of dance around in the middle, no big deal. But if you have a physical resistant Ogre in one of the outer lanes, you're going to have to go over and kill that yourself. Just an additional note here, for the defense layout, I have the gas trap packed so tight with the Inferno and Aura stack to make sure that a Djinn can't come over and steal anything. Everything's too close to the gas to actually get stolen. The Djinn get permanently CC'd. That's been my experience. And here's what happens if you get an Ogre coming in to the middle. He always aggroes to a wall for me, so I never concerned myself if I had an Ogre drop. Here is another scenario where I've got a Poison Ogre on a lane that had a Poison Siren. So if you get the Ogre and the Poison Siren in the same wave on the same lane, that's when you have to go over and either repair the wall or kill the Ogre, maybe both here. And I do show what happens if you forget about it or get to it too late here. I sell the wall and the buff beam just to show, hey, you know, if the wall goes down but you do kill the Ogre and you don't lose the crystal, you're still okay. The placement of the traps and auras allows for the flyers to get locked down, so you don't have to worry about the crystal getting blown up. It's all good if you lose that wall and the buff beam later into the wave. This is just the rest of that wave playing out to show that, you know, if you lose the wall, it's not a big deal. Everything's going to get locked down by the crowd control in that lane. The walls are really only needed for that random Ogre spawn or, you know, a Poison Siren. All right, back to the original run here, cutting to the end just to show the victory, popping the chest at the very end for the giraffe and G'ing up to just see what my time was. Not a bad time with my lowered stats here, I think. 14.5 minutes. If you slap the build down faster, you can get that way lower. And I'm going to cut back to the tavern to show my stats and go over all of my heroes. For your boost monk, the stats really aren't that big of a deal. There's my giraffe, not great. Maybe that's an upgrade for some people, I'm not sure. Middle of the road here for Glitterhelm, a 91% defense range. Gem there is all you need. That's my Drake Tooth from campaign, a 203. That's what I use in all my videos for campaign Drake Tooth here. You know, these stats don't really matter that much. Enough skill is enough. I've got 2,500 or so. Less is fine, more would be better. And here is my Beam EV 7k main stat with 3906 Fortify for the armor. And we've got some power and range split pretty evenly here, about 5k of each on my Trap Hunters. You could go less power, not a big deal. The range is nice though. 7k power, 3500 defense rate on the Apprentice. And I'm going to swap over to my Waller EV as well as my Aura Monk to show their stats as well. On the EV, the Waller EV, 7500 Fortify. You could go a little lower. The walls are pretty safe for this build. And for my auras, I've got an even-ish split for power and range, heavily, or more so for power, 5600 for power, 4500 for range. That does it for me here with these lowered stats. So I'm cutting over to another run here with all of my gear on and my stats all the way up. I am just cutting to some faster runs, 12:03. You can get about 12 minutes for your runs, a little less too if you're quick. It was pretty easy for me to consistently get runs right about 12 minutes. Here's a run where I accidentally G'd up on my Apprentice for wave 25. Still got the win though, 12:01, one of my faster times. Here's I think this is my fastest time that I've ever gotten here. This was 11:39. So these runs can get pretty quick if you get good at building it and if you've got higher stats. But that's going to do it for me here. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns in the comments. Link to the Discord and Twitch channel as well in the description. I run this on stream all the time. And a big thank you to everyone who's been supporting my channel. I am closing in on 1,000 subscribers. Never thought I would get this far with this channel, but just thanks so much for all the support I've gotten over these last few months. I love making the videos and I'm going to keep doing it, but that's going to do it here. Thank you so much for watching.